Hey guys, it's Sundeep with Dragon Ball Radio, and I'm going to do a report of my tournament experience this weekend at the ARG National Tournament. And I'll start off with talking about my matchups and who I played, what I played, and then I will go ahead and reveal the list and explain some of the interactions and card choices of the list. For you guys that don't know, I ended up winning this tournament technically by a forfeit in the finals, which I'll explain later. But I didn't expect to do so well with this deck. I just barely slid in as 16th place after Swiss, and I went all the way. So let's get started. I played Black Devious Roshi. And for round one, I was super impressed with the way that ARG ran this tournament. I've known a lot of the people in ARG for a while, Vince and Jim, and I always enjoy going to their events. So huge shout out to them. Round one, I sat down against a pretty good player. His name is Tim Sweeney. For those of you that don't know, he won the last regional tournament in Virginia with Black Devious Broly. So as I sat down against him, I was like, oh boy, I think I'll lose this, because obviously I have a Worlds invite. I had a Worlds invite prior to this event, but it was at the first OP event of the season. So it's been a good bit of time. It's been month and a half since I earned my invite, whereas Tim is just fresh off earning his invite in the last regional. So I think he had the advantage meta-wise, just from my perspective coming in. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna lose this, but I'll try my best. And when we started playing, I realized that Tim Sweeney is such a great player to play against. He's one of the nicest players I've played against, and nicest players that I've talked to. I just thoroughly enjoyed that match. It was heavily tilted in my favor, but he didn't complain that much. He played through it. I stuck a wall break on him early, and a couple combats down the road, he was able to choke it off while I had 6 or more board cards in play in addition to the personality, so that makes 7. And but by that time, I had already set up too much on the board, and I was able to overwhelm him and win by survival. So round 2, I played Holly, and she is a Namekian Pickle player. I knew that this matchup was not too bad going into it, but you did have to see a wall breaker in a timely manner in order to win the matchup. So when I started the game, it started really good for her. She went to level 3 before I even got off level 1, and before I was able to get access to a wall breaker. And I was like, okay, I think I might have lost to this speed anger. But I was able to stick a wall breaker out on her, and then from there onwards, I just played my game with Roshi, used the Roshi powers. Got to level 3, I used the power-up loop maybe 6 or 7 times, so that's quite a bit. And then after that, I went on to anger out with the use of black commands. So after round 2, I was feeling pretty good. I started 2-0. I was happy, and going into round 3, I was pretty psyched. When I went into round 3, I sat down against a player named Kurt. He made top cut with Red Roshi, and Red Roshi, for those of you that don't know, is the bane of my existence while I'm playing this deck. Red Roshi is the deck that I lost to in the finals at Fargo to Mitchell Janowick, who is a very good player and who severely outplayed me in the finals. So I was kind of, my heart sank when I was round 3. I had to play against a Red Roshi. But actually, this game started off heavily in my favor. I was able to play 3 Dragon Balls and get 2 of his banished. And we entered into a combat where I used choke twice and stole 2 of his Dragon Balls. So I was at 5 Dragon Balls, and he had 2 banished. So all I had to do was get access to a declaration as soon as possible and shuffle a Dragon Ball back in, and then seal that win condition from him. But unfortunately, from there, I couldn't enter anymore. He kept dropping scary setups like Bribe, Blaze, and then eventually in one turn he dropped 2 Red Relaxation. And then the very next turn, I drew my declaration after he dropped the 2 Relaxation. And I had ball 4 out, so I was like, okay, if I don't enter here with the declaration, he's just gonna enter on me and win. So I guess I have to just try to hope that he misplays, but I don't think he's gonna misplay. I'm gonna try anyways. So I play the declaration, enter. He obviously steals the ball 4, pops the declaration, and then throws a red knee lift for game. So I took the loss. I wasn't too devastated about the loss because I knew going into the matchup that it was gonna be hard to win, and it was likely gonna be one of my losses in Swiss. So I went on to my next game. It was versus a Namekian Piccolo player. And in my deck this time around, I don't play a lot of energy blocks, as many as I did in the set 5 meta. And it really showed in this game. He hit me with at least 2 crushing beams, which I couldn't block or prevent. And then he used the Piccolo power about 4 or 5 times, and I actually ended up losing by survival. So I went from 2-0 to 2-2, and I wasn't happy about that. I knew that from here there was 4 more rounds. I'm very unlikely to top cut, especially with losses in the first half of the tournament. But I was like, yeah, I'll just stay in it and try to win out and see what happens. So I went on to round 5, and I had to play a very good friend of mine, Chris Cormier, unfortunately, and he actually let me borrow one of my Defiant challenges to use for this event. So shout outs to him for that. But I'm very sorry that I had to play you, and it was not a very good game per se. It was a very one-sided game, heavily in my favor, and I had pretty much the answers to his effects. I used Delay a lot. Delay is very good versus 813. I'll explain that card later. And I was able to win by beatdown. Round 6, I played against Azaret Strife. He was playing Black Devious Broly. And Azaret, I was happy about playing him because this is one player that I looked up to him. He used to be a DBR member, and when I started playing the game, I listened to DBR a lot, and I listened to Azaret a lot on DBR. I enjoyed it, and now he's also a Next Level Z member. So I was really looking forward to the match, and I was looking forward to proving that I could defeat him in a tournament. And when we sat down and played, the game was in my favor, pretty heavily. I have to admit. I wall breakered him on level 1, and then from there onwards, I dropped a lot of board cards, and he didn't have very many aggressive hands to enter on. Unfortunate for him, and I was able to get very close to DBV. I had 6 Dragon Balls out, and him seeing no win condition scooped to me. Likely I was going to be able to tutor the last Dragon Ball in the next couple turns. So he went on to scoop. Round 7, first off, I went from 2-2 to 4-2, so I was like, maybe I got a shot at this. I can make it into top cut. Just have to win 2 more games. So round 7, I played against a player called Glenn Sullivan. He was playing Black Devious Cooler. And Black Devious Cooler, I was a little bit iffy on this matchup. In the Virginia Regional, I played against the Black Devious Cooler round 1, and it was a draw, and that's actually the only draw I've ever gotten this this year in OP season, and I played this deck every single event this year in OP season. And you guys might be a little surprised about that. Black Roshi, it's a very passive deck per se. And how did you end up not going in time, like in that's maybe like 35 to 40 games? You only went into to time and got a draw once. That's actually what happened. So I did a lot of practicing before the first OP season of playing this deck with a 30-minute time limit instead of a 40-minute time limit. And I was able to, with that playtesting, reduce my my thinking speed quite a bit and make fast decisions and try to just win out games in like 30 to 35 minutes every single round. But in Virginia, obviously, I got a draw. So this matchup, I was definitely iffy on if I could kill him fast enough. His deck was a very defensive deck. It was a deck very similar to what I played in Virginia. My mistakes in Virginia was I didn't recognize how defensive his deck was, and I didn't realize that I had to be the aggressor. But in this game, I was the aggressor. I entered the majority of the combats, and I actually DBV'd, but it wasn't like a passive DBV. I DBV'd very proactively. I was using slumbers, entering combats, and stacking into Dragon Balls, and then also searching Dragon Balls with Backstrike, and then I used a radar in combat to search a Dragon Ball. So it was DBV. It was a very proactive DBV, though. And round 8, the final round of Swiss, I played against a player called Chris Faraji. Sorry if I mispronounced that. He was playing Black 13. My second 8-13 matchup in Swiss, and this matchup was again very one-sided. I had the answers to his allies. I banished 14 and 15 with the searching technique, and then I wallbreakered him. So from there, I was able to just overpower and beat down him for the win. And so after round 8, I went in to check my tiebreakers and how my losses did, because I was like, at this point, all right, I didn't make it at 6-2, but is that good enough to make top cut? And there's a little bit of backstory here. I have never, up until this event, gone X2 at a regional or higher level event and made top cut. I played in 4 regionals last year and the world side event, and I went 6-2 or 5-2 at 2 of the regionals, and then I went 6-2 at the world side event, or 5-2, I can't remember. And all 3 of those times I was somewhere between 17th to 25th place. And also this year in Chicago, I went 6-2 and ended 22nd or 23rd. So I was like, all right, I went 6-2 again. Probably not going to make top cut, especially since I lost in the first half of the tournament. So I went in to check with my tiebreakers, and they were the Red Roshi player was also 6-2, and the Namekian Pickle player was 5-3. So I was like, those are mediocre tiebreakers. Maybe I can slip in at 16th, or maybe I'll just barely miss it. We'll see. But then when, long behold, Bulma announced my name as 16th place, I just barely got into the top cut, and I was just so happy that I could finally break the curse of not top cutting at X2. And furthermore, we didn't have to play out the top cut the same day, so I could go home and sleep, think about my matchup, because I'd already know that I'm playing the first seed, and just get well rested to play in the top cut. Fast forward to day 2, I am playing the top seed. He was 8-0 in Swiss. His name is Samuel. He wrote a tournament report on Retro. You should really check it out, because he played some of the hardest matchups that I've ever seen someone play against in a tournament, and he went 8-0 against them. So that's insane. Yeah, definitely read his tournament report. He's a great player. I've known him for a while, and I knew that he had the capabilities to do well in one of these events, like he did at this one. He was playing red cooler, and I thought that this matchup was going to be very hard for me. I thought it was pretty unwinnable, actually, because he also plays a triple threat deck like me. However, he plays a triple threat deck that has more abilities crit than I do. So his Dragon Ball Victory win condition is a ton stronger than mine. So my approach to this matchup was, one, I have to get rid of his supernovas as early as possible in any way I can. And then wall breaker him as early as possible, ideally on level 1. And lastly, not play my Dragon Balls unless absolutely necessary in the game, because he has a lot more crits than I do. So I stuck to all 3 of those game plans, and they worked. I was able to banish one of his supernovas from discard pile with a slumber as the attacker, and then I was able to banish another 2 with the black searching technique. So all of them were gone relatively early in the game. And then I wallbreakered him on level 2. It was not ideal. I wanted to wallbreak him on level 1, but level 2 is better than him going to level 3. So I did that, and I didn't play my Dragon Balls. I think I played maybe 1 Dragon Ball when I had a declaration to shuffle it back in. And despite me doing all of those, it still came down to a very tight game at the end. We went into time, and the final turn of time, Samuel was the active player. I had 8 life cards. He had 6 life cards left in deck. He drew a ball 5. He ended up playing it, but he had the choice of either discarding it down, putting him to 7 cards, and then rejuving underneath it, which would put him to 8 cards, tying my 8. And then we'd go to the secondary tiebreakers. I don't know who would win. I'm not 100% sure how those work, because I was at 4 anger on level 4, and he had 5 Dragon Balls out. So, but he didn't do that. He ended up playing the ball 5, putting him at 6 Dragon Balls, and then he entered combat trying to just kind of Hail Mary game me. He threw a static shot, but unfortunately for him, I had the black resistance for the 1 anger for the win. So I pulled the win out versus him. But huge props to Samuel for his performance. I have never gone undefeated in Swiss like he did. I went 7-0-1 at the Texas Regional last year. That was the closest I got. But 8-0 in Swiss is a huge accomplishment, especially against the strength of schedule that he had, the players that he faced. So again, shout outs to him. In my top 8 match, I played against TJ Corcoran. I've heard of this player. I've never met him before. I did know that he top cutted at New York with A13, and I knew that after I played him. I didn't know that before that. I knew that he was. I just heard that he's a good player. When he sat down against me and he pulled out black A13, I didn't know what he was playing. Like I said, and I was thinking like this matchup is kind of in my favor. I've already beaten 2 A13s in Swiss. I should be able to pull out the win versus him. And I did exactly that. I was able to banish his A15 ally pretty early, so that he couldn't jump with the level 2 power. And he did rejuve it with the level 2 power attack. But at that point, like it already had set him like kind of far back, and he had to still tutor it out. So I was able to pull out the win. Also, one card that did a lot of work is Black Obstructing Drill. It stopped a crit from his A20 ally. I'll explain more about that card later when we go over the deck list. But I won that by MPPV as well. And the top 4 match, I played against Joey Walter. He's a pretty good friend of mine. I was excited to play against him because I had never played against one of the Walter brothers in a tournament. I play test with Joey quite often. So I played him many times, but I wanted to prove that I could play toe-to-toe with them at an event. So we played the game, and it was... I'm not going to explain too much about it. It was streamed, but I'll explain the very ending. Oh, also, by the way, the my game with TJ Corcoran was also streamed. So you should check out both of these games on ARG's Twitch channel. But I will talk about the ending with Joey Walter, because that ending was it was a nail biter. I was at 3 cards left in deck with 0 anger on level 3, and I went out to anger out. So how did I do that? Before I was at 3 cards, I had slumbered in that combat, and I was actually, when the combat started, I was maybe like 10 to 13 cards left in. No, maybe even 10 to 15 cards left in deck. And I slumbered, put a ball 7, command in my hand with slumber. And the reason I did that is... Oh, well, first off, let me mention that he had 3 attacks. He had a black energy web. He had his Krillin level 1 power attack. And he had a blinding energy move. Sorry, excuse me. And he entered on me. I slumbered. I had the choice of putting a energy block in my hand with the slumber of black resistance. I chose not to, and this is a pretty controversial decision, but I'll explain my reasoning. It's because, so if I left a command in my deck, it would have likely been hit for damage, and at this point my only win condition was anger, because I was too far from killing him. So I had to risk the damage that he could dish out with all 3 of his attacks in favor of keeping the black command safe. So that's what I did, and excuse me, sorry, one second. And he threw all of his attacks. All of them hit. I did have a good deal of endurance, so at the end of the combat I was left with 3 cards left in deck, and I discarded down... Man, sorry, I'm getting a little bit of a cold. I discarded down my commands, went to 5 cards left in deck and 4 anger, and drew for turn. I drew one of the balls that raises my anger 1, either 3 or 5, to level me to 4. And then I played the ball 7, stacked resistance, black knee catch, and a time. Black knee catch was for defensive burst or a choke if he had one left, and well, and the other 2 were for his energy attacks, and also knee catch and resistance had endurance. And then I also drew 2 commands again, because again I was only at 5 life cards, so it was a pretty high chance that I could draw the 2 commands back. So I discarded down my 2 commands, and after stacking those 2, and I was at 4 anger on level 4, and he was forced to enter to try to kill me. And I didn't draw my resistance, so I was like, maybe he'll kill me. Because I drew my time but not my resistance, but I was like, he'll kill me if he has the sphere and has a really strong attack. So he threw his level 1 Krillin power, and I used the time, and he sphered, and I was like, oh damn, I'm gonna die, and I took the resistance for damage and endured with it, keeping me alive, and then I had the command in hand to anger out, and that's how that went. So that was a top 4 match. The finals match, it didn't happen. I was slated to play against Nick Brown, who also played Black Roshi, and it was about to be a Black Roshi finals mirror. Who would have thought of that in this meta? But it was about to happen. Unfortunately, he had to catch an international flight, so he had to concede to me, and I was declared the champion, I guess by a technicality. But yeah, huge props to him for making it that far. He played a non-DBV build, So it would have been it wouldn't have been an exact mirror, but still a mirror.